The best benefit of the CMO Club is the interaction. It's sitting around the table with other CMOs that are from brands all across the U.S. and having conversations about what they're experiencing, best practices, who they've had good relationships with in terms of agencies. It's that whole world, because the reality is chief marketing officers don't get together. It's odd, but it's true. And so he's created this environment that allows for some great dialogue. You know, Jack is a great brand. It's got this great history. We're 60 years old, and it's evolving and changing and growing. We're actually predominantly in the West, in Texas, and right now we're growing across the United States. We just opened up in Kansas City this week. And so it's an exciting time at the company, because we're growing across the U.S. We're changing our business model to predominantly franchise from company, history of being a predominantly company-owned restaurant. And so now we're moving to franchising. So there's a lot of dynamics. And then you add in the whole element of just marketing in general for a brand, and all the dynamics that are going on right now with social media being probably one of the hottest topics, and just the whole fragmentation of media and trying to figure out how to connect with consumers. I think, you know, consumers are in a very different mind place than they were a few years ago, and so it makes for a very interesting experience to kind of lead that effort. Well, one of the things that's top of mind certainly in this economic situation is value. And we're not the dollar player. You know, we don't have the millions of dollars to kind of scream value. And we also, we're a very low margin business. So that becomes quite a bit of conflict, and certainly with the franchise community. So we found a way to offer value to consumers, which is what they're looking for, in a different format, and that's through what we call bundling. So we put together a couple different things. We put it at a good price. Consumers win, and then we win because it helps our margins are good on them. So that's how we've kind of been forging through this economic situation. You know, that's a great question. And it's one that we spent a lot of time trying to sort out as we were going to forge across the country. What we found out, though, is we actually have quite a bit of brand awareness even in the states that we're not in. And I think play at that is we do some national cable media. And so we do go into the homes across the U.S. even though we're not in the market. And the fact that people move. They move all across the country. So what happens to us when we first enter into the marketplace is those loyal Jack fans that have been missing us for a long time, especially for our tacos, they start the PR and word of mouth. And so we open with lines of people wrapped around the building. We break records every time we open up. We are doing some special things with our website that will be targeted right to those markets. So they can go on, and we have special things that talk to that particular city that we're opening up in. And so you bring that connection automatically to the city. You know, it is interesting, the reaction to Jack, but we find him universally liked. That's the beauty of Jack. He has this 360-degree personality, and as odd as this might sound, he gets normalized pretty quick. So it's pretty fun. I think the most interesting experience I had with Jack was we were out in New York City, and we don't have any restaurants out there. And we opened up at NASDAQ a year ago. And I took Jack and we walked around Times Square. It was pure entertainment. That's all I can say. There was about a third of the New Yorkers never even noticed, even though he's like 7'2" walking down the streets. So you have those that are, you know, very focused. And then you had about 30% who completely recognized him and ran up and wanted to take pictures and went crazy. And then you had about another 30% that were like, what the hell is that? So it was pretty entertaining. You know, I think what I've learned in, you know, especially the last year and a half with everything that's been going on in the economy, chief marketing officers are more on the hot seat than they were before. And I think the most important thing that we can do is to have courage. It's about having courage and character and standing up, because at the end of the day, we're the ones who are responsible for that consumer connection. I think we're still learning, quite frankly. I think we're still trying to sort it out. I think anyone who says they've got it nailed, I'm not so sure about. Because I think the reality is TV certainly gets you awareness faster than any medium. That's still the case. But the reality is the world is changing, and it's one component, and the reality is all these other things are just as important, and they have to work together, and that's the key. The key is to make that all work together. One of the things we just tried that I was really pleased with the results and a little surprised at the results is we just did this thing on Facebook where we weren't pushing a product. Okay, so what we did was you could sign up on Facebook to say you like Jack, and you'd put a nickel in a jar. And the jar would fill up over a course of 3 weeks, and you get people to sign up and be a fan of Jack, right? So we're increasing our Facebook page. And the only thing that the consumer got in return was the chance to win all the nickels. Well, the nickels added up to almost $12,000. We had 260,000 people do it, and we're announcing the winner next week. And they loved it. And we got unbelievable, comments on the wall and blogs, and I mean, it just went nuts. It's actually kind of a funny story. I'll make it short, but when I went to college, I thought I was going to be a CPA, which now I can kind of laugh pretty loud about. So I'm at school, and I took my first marketing class, and it quite frankly was my aha moment. I'm like, I think I would like this a lot more, and the more I got in it, the more I realized my personality completely lined up with it. So I took a turn.